Welcome to Profits on Purpose, the podcast for e-com and CPG founders who are looking to scale their businesses both profitably and purposefully. I'm your host, Nate Littlewood from Future Ready CFO, which is the go-to fractional CFO solution for seven-figure founders who are looking to take a state of financial chaos and confusion into one of clarity and confidence. Anyway, today's guest is Manon Martin, who is the founder and CEO of Les Hémons, which is a New York bridal lab which is reinventing the way that brides shop for wedding dresses with absolutely unheard of lead times and at prices that challenge industry norms. She's a Techstar-backed founder building from right here in Brooklyn, New York. I understand you traveled 10 blocks to come and join me on the podcast today. So very, very local. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you for having me today. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, listen, why don't we get started with talking about your background and how you got into this? I understand that you're working in the fashion industry for a number of years before starting this business. Tell me about that experience and how did you get here?
Sure. So I spent the past decade before starting the business of Les Hémons in the fashion industry. I used to be a technical designer, which meant that my job was to take the designer vision of each brand new collection into supply chain and development. So I was in charge of everything that goes into prototyping through the supply chain. And over the course of my career, when the beginning of 3D fitting was coming along, I've made a pivot into bringing new softwares for larger fashion group to speed up the process and enhance all the development of new collections. And let's fast forward, I've made a pivot into my career in 2019 around here when after experiencing bad bridal shopping experience.
Okay.
So
this was your own wedding, I assume?
No, that was my friend's wedding. So it's my story is really like through one of my friend's wedding, one after the other. But essentially, after many times of shopping for wedding dress in New York City, I realized how the consumer experience was so left off when purchasing such an important piece of clothing, which is your wedding dress. You have to shop 8 to 10 months out because this is the industry standard. You cannot customize such an important piece of clothing because you're buying the designer vision. And on the top of that, the dress comes, but it still doesn't fit your body measurement. And you have to pay an additional like 20% from the original price of the gown to make it fit and tailor. So on average in America, women will spend between $800 to $1,000 in bridal dress and alteration fee without knowing that they have to make this additional purchase after buying the wedding dress. And that's how I made a pivot in my career to move from fashion to bridal with Les Hémons.
Okay. Wow. Well, when you put it like that, it's absolutely ghastly from a customer experience perspective. Like, how has the bridal industry gotten away with operating like this with, 8 to 10 month lead times and all these extra fees? Like, why hasn't somebody addressed this problem already?
What I can tell you is that it is coming from two main reasons. Number one, you have to look at who is your consumer. Your consumer is a bride. It is an emotional product. And it is also very often a one-time purchase. So as a one-time consumer, the industry really has taken advantage of the customer into imposing their own standard of shopping. It is also like it usually represents between 5 to 8% of the total cost of the wedding budget. So it is really much in the advantage of the industry to pressing you into making this purchase first. So that's number one. On another end, and that's where I spent about 1 year to educate myself into why the industry behaved the way how it does. I realized that coming from the fashion industry, we call the fashion industry fast fashion, not because we work faster, but because we have a lot of software that automate all the production supply chain. When on the other side, the wedding industry, the bridal industry, the apparel has no software, no automation to track their supply chain. So that creates a necessary communication between all the parties of production when making a wedding dress. And that this delay, this lack of communication is being pushed towards the final consumer that is paying the dress. So like the timeline, the rush fees, the alteration, like that's what the customer has to pay because there is no production structure on the other end for those.
Okay, interesting. So do you think the bridal industry or the wedding dress suppliers, they have a huge motivation here to change? Or and what I'm hearing from you is that they're kind of happy operating the way they are?
So to give you a little bit of background on how I started, when I built Les Hémons, I really wanted to help the industry. I came with this whole idea that the industry is operating the way how they are. So by pushing their consumer to buy 8 to 10 months out, I ended up in a situation where my friend could not buy a wedding dress 3 months before the wedding, and no one in New York City will sell us a wedding dress.
Wow.
Because we were just too late. So what happened for those retailers? They are losing on the sales. This girl's going to make a sales from like most likely like a fashion apparel line online or so. So they are lacking on their sales. You cannot customize such an important piece of clothing. So you're going to like find your way through like bespoke custom. So I thought that I could help retailers with building a technology where the consumer can actually customize her wedding dress from head to toe with a wedding dress configurator. Buy her wedding dress made to fit her body measurement with the promise of a true fit in one shot. So she does not need to pay for bridal dress and alteration. So with a technology of 3D body scanning, so whenever we get the data of your body measurement, you do like it fits. And at last, a software that will mimicate what we have in high growth fashion industry, which it's a logistics software that automate the communication in real time with all the parties of production to speed up the process and sell a wedding dress in 8 weeks. What I found out is that for an entire year, my first year in business, I was actually chasing the wrong customer.
I.e. the industry,
the
like
industry,
B2B.
the B2B. So I went out to all the bridal store with a car, with a concept of mix and match, and I explained the concept to all the stores. Being like, you guys are missing on sales. There is really something about your consumer experience that you haven't tackled, and you're actually like there is a huge opportunity of revenue that you are actually sitting on right now, and you're not taking advantage of. And I realized it was so much harder, like to combine those retailer. Like, was it the fear? I didn't know at the time until one day I found out that those retailers that create the industry standard make actually an additional revenue, an additional margin through rush fees or through bridal dress and alteration. So why change why change towards like your consumer experience when you actually make 60% gross margin on bridal dress and alteration, or when you make 50% gross margin on rush fees? And so that's what I wanted to disrupt. And this is when I said we're making a pivot, we're going DTC.
So this all sounds very, very compelling. Reason for them. Well, let me rephrase that. Okay, so this all sounds incredibly compelling from the consumer's perspective, but what you've talked about here is a number of different kind of motivations or problems that you're going to solve. It could be price, could be timeline, could be sustainability. I think there's a sustainability angle to this. How do you think about like what is the problem that you lead with? Like what is the pain point that gets you in the door with these customers and attracts them to you?
I think the 3 pain points that you described, timeline, customization, and fees, that is the essence of customer shopping experience. Les Aimants' first business model is not to sell you a wedding dress, it's to sell you an experience. Because what we know is that buying a wedding dress is a very emotional product, like emotional experience that you go through with your mom, with your friend, even though the generation are changing and going towards online or whatever, it still remain an emotional process.
Yeah.
And if you, sorry.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Pardon my ignorance here, but I'm imagining a traditional wedding dress shopping experience where the bride, maybe a sister, a couple of good friends, mom, auntie, whatever, they're all going together and going around these bridal stores and probably making a day of it, having fun, hanging out. How do you kind of replicate that experience where we have a largely kind of digital product and a lot of the process of like fitting and optimization of the garment is happening like online or on the computer?
Alors, we have two ways of shopping for wedding dresses within Les Hémons. 70%, about 70%, 65% of our revenue is coming from the traditional showroom experience that we cater in New York. You come with your friend, with your grandma, with your auntie, you're still going to have champagne in our store. You're going to be able to mix and match wedding dresses, go through a wedding dress configurator, get 3D body scan once you have decided on the product that you want to purchase. We're just going to 3D body scan you. But the experience itself of the traditional way of entering a store remain pretty similar. However, we now have like 30 to 35% of our sales that are coming from online with the wedding dress configurator. So we're actually launching this later this week. So it's a working process from the past 8 months. It's a try on at home experience box for our online shopper to feel, to experience, to touch Les Hémons directly in their living room. So you get online. 45% of brides actually browse online before entering a bridal store. 45%. 30% of those, they will make a purchase online that is not specifically from like a wedding dress company, fashion apparel. So you get into our platform, you customize the wedding dress of your dream on our online platform. And then you can order a try-on at home experience box with the customization of your choices prior making the final purchase online. You get a gamification card with the same experience you will have in store, but directly in your living room to enjoy with your mother, with your grandmother that could not get out of the house for whatsoever reason, with your friend, and you return the box once you're done with it.
Very cool. Very cool. So I spend a lot of time speaking with like consumer product founders on this show. And one of the, pretty common patterns in, startup land for consumer founders is that there's always this appeal of going after bigger customers, right? So a lot of people will start in direct to consumer and they'll eventually hope to kind of grow their way into retail so that they can be working with, bigger and bigger customers. When I think about your business, like the first iteration of it where you were looking at actually working with the industry, I guess we'd call that a B2B relationship. And what's going through my head as like a finance guy is like incredibly long relationships with probably a very, very high lifetime value. And what you're doing now is more of a kind of direct to consumer arrangement where I assume that the lifetime value of each customer that comes in the door is probably a lot lower because, unless they get remarried, most brides only need one wedding dress, right?
Yes, usually.
Tell me a little bit about lifetime value of a relationship here. Am I thinking about it correctly, or are there maybe other aspects to this that I'm overlooking?
So in theory, yes, B2B will be like B2B working directly with retailers will be an additional revenue, or you could like run a B2B and a DTC. So yes, because you create a partnership with the retailer, they are making the sales on your behalf. They are always bringing you new customer. In reality, because I've been running it for 5 years, I can definitely tell you that like you are in the middle of the competition with dozens of bridal designers, like on the same floors of retail, that if you do not share the same value, that is the customer shopping experience, then your retailers, you're never going to sell anything. Because the people that sell on your behalf have to believe in actually your mission, and our mission is the customer shopping experience.
That is so interesting, yeah.
On another hand, we've been running this business for 5 years. For the first 3.5 years, we were fully bootstrapped, which means that we can only repeat the business through referral, through recommendation, through not recurring customer, but organic, technically. And I can tell you that one bride equal 5 bridesmaids. So the entire business model that we've been operating is through referrals of customers until we got our first funding. And that it is much more legitimate to acquire one bride through their friends. And on the top of that, when they buy one wedding dresses from you, which equal an average AOV of $2,900 here in New York, for an example, they are also then going to purchase your ready-to-wear collection. So all the looks that comes around your wedding planning, the bachelorette, the city hall, the honeymoon, we cater a collection for it that increase the AOV plus the veil plus the accessory, and it is much more legitimate for us to go through direct to consumer. Because they believe in the vision, because they need it, and because we share the same value as well.
That makes complete sense. Yeah. So there's a lot more kind of angles to this than the one I was thinking about. So I just want to paraphrase that back to you to make sure I'm understanding correctly. And also because I think this is a really interesting point that others can learn from. Basically, you went into a channel, the channel being an existing bridal store, and essentially the value proposition that you had or the way that you wanted to do business was not compatible with that channel, right? There was a poor product channel fit, you might say. So rather than hang around in a channel that wasn't working for the way that you wanted to do product, you basically said, well, no, we need a different channel. And unfortunately, we need to, well, not unfortunately, but in order for this to work, we need to have more control over that customer relationship. Have I understood that correctly?
You understood correctly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to dive a little bit deeper to understand why the industry was operating that way and how do you fix it so it's sustainable for the consumer and it is also sustainable for you as a business. Like, if you want to be that disruptive, it also has to work on the business side aspect of it. We still need to make our margin. We still need to pay our labor. How do you make yourself more affordable, quicker, in all those angles, and serve the final consumer a better way as well?
Got it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. You good? Cool. So you've convinced me on the LTV side of things. I can now see that there's a lot more opportunities there than I was originally thinking about. But tell me about the other side of the, consumer math equation, which is the customer acquisition cost. You touched on this earlier. You talked about the strong referral side of the business and that one bride, might have 4 or 5 bridesmaids, etc. But how do you think about CAC beyond that? Like, have you been successful thus far in acquiring customers through paid media, for example?
Yes. So we actually finished our first raise in March this year. So the marketing is still, thank you. The marketing is still fairly new for us, but this is what I can tell you what worked for us so far. So 30% of my business is coming from online. We're building the Try On at Home experience box. The Try On at Home experience box is going to be deployed through UGC content, through future bride-to-be that do the whole unboxing like from home, plus pop-up activation across the US for consumer that could not access our showroom base in New York. Then we have 70% of our revenue that is coming from the 3-state area, from New York, and this is from local collaboration with other brands. So what touched the bride? We know that beauty touch a lot the bride through the same process of like the wedding journey. So we've been partnering with beauty retailer in New York through events. We've been also collaborating with influencer marketing, UGC content, and paid ads for everything that is ad spend. To this day, though, even though like we see like now an incline through ads, how referral and how organic search remains still bigger than,
They're bigger than the paid media.
Than the paid media.
Okay.
For us, like there is something about the trust of a customer. Like, we also look at the numbers, like how fast do you convert a customer when they are in your store, and someone that is coming from referral has already like an entryway through the door of trust. And that's really, this is what we care the most as a bridal company that sells something that is extremely emotional. This is the emotional support of this bride. And we see like definitely something more trustworthy through the first bridal appointment when they come from referrals.
Interesting. Very similar to my own business, for what it's worth, as a fractional CFO, like cold outreach and trying to work with someone who doesn't know you is really hard. Almost all of my existing customers are
I'm not surprised. And every time, I don't know if you've seen that with early stage startup, of like whenever you get your first, like you hire your first employee, if they're coming from referral, like you will rather to build a job around those people than having like to source for the exact same position.
Interesting. So you mentioned fundraising. I think you raised your first funds earlier this year. Seed round. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about how the business has been financed thus far, and who's on the cap table. Like, who was part of that seed round?
I cannot tell you who's on the cap table. Sorry.
Okay.
Not. I can tell you. Okay, so here's what I can tell you. I can tell you that we're fully bootstrapped.
Okay.
Until 3 years ago, we went to 2 accelerator. One from the first one that was Techstars.
Okay. Techstars.
The thing that I've learned that resonated the most after this accelerator is one quote that I got from our managing director when it comes to spending capital as an early stage startup was, you do not spend capital based on what you want to do. You as the founder, as the CEO of the company, you spend capital based on what the business needs. And that really has shaped the way how we are spending our funds through consumer shopping experience. If this does not beneficiate the customer, and if this is not going to help us grow our revenue, you do not need to spend it. As a matter of fact, we wanted to open a much bigger showroom this year, but we found out that we have a much bigger retention of sales from online. So we had to pivot the strategy from acquiring the customer online and not the one that will be in New York City, because one grows faster than the other. And that's how we spend capital.
Okay, got it. You mentioned there were 2 accelerators you've been part of, though. Techstars was one.
And Slauson & Co. Friends and Family program that I just finished on August 29. It was a 6-month program.
Friends and Family program. I haven't heard of that.
Slauson & Co. Okay. And so they're based in LA, and they're based in LA, and that's also like a early stage founder. They're pretty agnostic. And so we've been through a 6-month program through enhancing the customer shopping experience through the new technology that we've been building. So the new configurator and the try on at home experience box.
Okay. Yeah. And as someone who's been through 2 accelerator programs now, tell me, what would you recommend for people who are perhaps less familiar with what these programs are and what the benefits are?
So an accelerator is really like, it's perfect for someone that is first-time founder, solo founder, even double founder. It's perfect for someone that needs a support system and education on the base on how to develop, to run a business. It brings a huge network for you to connect with fractional CMO, CTO, CFO, and bring like a structure with a much bigger expertise, I'll say. no, honestly, I had a great experience through my first and my second accelerator. Like it's meant to really push you on a very short amount of time to develop something new. So my first accelerator, I had 12 weeks to build a software from scratch.
Had you ever done that before?
What?
Had you ever built it?
Never.
Okay.
I came to the program and I remember they were like, you're the only founder that is not fully tech-based.
Right.
Like you need to build the technology. And at that time, we had the idea of building a software to automate on-demand manufacturing. So the whole idea, the product strategy was there, but the execution did not start it. Like we needed the fund as well. And so you have a huge support from experts, from legal experts to developers to fractionals, that really help you putting this together. And same thing when I went into my second accelerator, I had a specific product that I needed to build. And so I only had this focus for 6 months, was just pulling the advisors, the mentors that will be beneficial for us to build this try on at home box, getting the feedback, and within 6 months we built this whole new experience that is launching this week.
Amazing.
Exciting.
Well, hopefully, I guess it'll already be out by the time this podcast.
That's going to be live by, I hope, Friday. No?
Okay.
But yes.
Okay, which is the first week of October.
October, okay. Because our bridal fashion week is coming up in 10 days, and we have the events for the launch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Exciting. Well, I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah, I'll let you know about that.
So within these 2 accelerator programs that you did, tell me what they taught you about finances within these programs. Are there any foundational finance concepts that they covered, or was it really more about the customer and product and getting something built?
No, the first accelerator was EdTech, so pure tech. And the second accelerator was more agnostic, but with more a lead towards B2B or more DTC. What the second accelerator taught me, so Slauson and Co. that I'm just coming out from, is to test and learn quickly. You get X amount of funds, you know that your goal is to reach product market fit pretty quickly. So you have to be okay into investing capital, making error, learning quickly, pivoting if needed. So as a matter of fact, the example that comes in mind to me with this is we had this whole idea that one social channel will blow up for us, given the data that we had at the time, given the research and everything. Once we pulled the first dollar, it never took off.
Oh,
never.
Really? Can I ask what channel?
Yeah, it was Google. So we're for sure, Google is going to be amazing. We get on a special program with Google and everything.
Right.
Never took off. So you have to be able to spend capital, learn quickly, make a pivot. And now, so we are about 4 months in really on advertising. And I will say it's been 3 weeks that we refine and tune what really worked for us, which was another channel. So yes, it's learn fast, spend quickly, stop quickly, pivot quickly.
So one of the things that I spend a lot of time working with founders on is managing inventory and cash conversion cycle. It's pretty common for a physical products company to have, very, very large amount of cash tied up in their inventory. I was curious, for a business like yours, how does the cash conversion cycle actually work? Do you know if it's a positive or negative number?
It's definitely positive. We have no inventory.
Okay.
Everything is made to order. When we cash out our sales, it's an upfront 100% payment. And we know that when someone book a bridal appointment in our New York showroom, which again represents almost 70% of our sales, we have about 65 to 70% conversion rates on sales during the first 90 minutes of the first appointment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So first it's pretty positive, but then it's about customer acquisition. So we are good at sales and we are learning into acquiring through paid ads, marketing and things like this.
Okay. Interesting. Would it also be the same answer if we only considered the, off the shelf, ready to sell stuff? Or?
So then this is inventory. This is The ready-to-wear apparel represent less than 40% of our revenue.
Okay.
Maybe even less than this. And that's really, it's almost, that was our marketing product when we started. So when we started and we had no funding, we had to be very much scrappy and creative into how, if I'm making an activation, I'm going to be able like to sell a piece of product that actually can do a boom on social media. So we started with a slitted side jumpsuit during the pandemic when no one was wearing a wedding dress and everybody was getting married in their backyard. And I was like, okay, like just pull out like, I don't know, at the time we probably did like 50 jumpsuits in a small production. And I was like, gift them, sell them, like do whatever you want to do with it, but it's just to get your name out there. So we, to this date, after 5 years in business, we carry a very small inventory of those. And whenever we are out, like completely, like we reproduce.
So listen, I just want to reiterate a few of the things you've said, because your business is a little bit different in that it's not purely, physical products and inventory. Like you're very much a technology or a software sort of business. But I want to dwell on this because I think there's a number of interesting things that other founders can kind of learn from you, or at least maybe look to for ideas. One is the customer acquisition referral, right? Like you sell to one customer, but then there's this amazing kind of network effect around them. And if you deliver a strong experience to the first customer, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to get, at least 5 other customers out of that. So that's one point. And I just want people to think about, how you can potentially engineer or design customer acquisition cost into your product. Because it sounds like you've actually done a really good job of that in terms of the way it works. The other thing that I think is really interesting about how you've described how your business works as someone who is selling a physical product at the end of the day is the cash conversion cycle. Like it's a customized product. People have to pay for it in advance. They get delivered the physical thing later on. And that has had a very favorable impact on your cash conversion cycle. For a lot of brands that I work with, they don't have that luxury. They have to buy the inventory well before they actually cross paths with a customer, and they constantly have, issues with cash availability. Not really a question. I just wanted to kind of point that out for the benefit of the folks listening, because I thought it was a really interesting.
No, a good point so for us, it's almost you pay your product and you get it like 8 weeks later. If I was a founder that is e-commerce based, that is selling a product online and that does not want to sit on the burden of inventory, I'll do pre-orders. I only order once I have X amount being ordered. So I know that like my inventory cost is already being paid for. And there is a lot of platform I know now that's linked through your e-commerce, so like Shopify or Squarespace, that specialize into advertising for pre-order and being set up for pre-orders. So like your management logistic platform on the back end is ready to take on from those orders.
Interesting. Well, as we draw things to a close here, I've got a couple of closing questions for you. Let me start that again. Well, I've got a couple more questions for you as we draw things to a close here. One of my new traditions on the show is to ask people about their favorite business KPI or performance metric. Is there a favorite number that you have and like to track frequently? If so, what is it and why?
I have one that became almost like the challenge and the fear every year. Is it going to happen? So over 5 years in business, we never got a single return.
Wow.
That's the thing that I think that's what drove my fundraise last spring. So there is this one, like making sure we never have a single return. The conversion rate on a first bridal appointment and the referral vs paid ads revenue. Even though we want to acquire customer through paid ads and through advertising. The power of referrals is when we know that we've done a good job. Because if a customer like trusts you enough to send her sister or her best friend or whoever to your platform, is that you really gaining this trust, and never losing the trust of your consumer is the number one value as a customer-centric startup.
I love that. So powerful. So powerful. One of the other numbers you mentioned just now was the conversion rate on the first visit.
Yes.
What is that?
So we have a 65 to 70% conversion rate on a first bridal appointment.
That's amazing.
I'll say like in bridal in general, I have no idea how fashion work in a store, but usually because it is a very competitive market and we're based in New York, if your customer does not buy on a first bridal appointment, you usually have lost by like 50 or 60% your chance of converting this customer. But yes, like that's our conversion rate. And so again, as I said, we're good with like the sales aspect of it because we're capable on developing an unparalleled experience. So we've been hearing a lot from customer in the past that say, I came to your store, I was absolutely not expecting to buy a wedding dress. I was not in the rush. You guys were not my type. XYZ reason, but because the experience is so cool and you guys really got me, like then I purchased my wedding dress, and that's the biggest reward.
Amazing.
The biggest reward.
Well, again, to contrast that with like traditional e-commerce, conversion rates might be like 2 or 3%. So 65 to 70%. And, you know, this is obviously somewhat different. This is like an in-store experience. It's not like, you know, just visiting a website. But is there anything else that you think traditional e-com founders could potentially learn from the way that you've designed that initial interaction? Like, how have you gotten such amazing conversion rates?
I'll say get curious and get feedback about whatever you're selling. How can you do it better? So as a matter of fact, when we started Les Hémons, I was not expecting that we will work around like a 3D body scanner. I'll say, well, we're just going to measure the customer and call it a day. But I realized that the more you start selling online, the more like the more you start selling in New York, the more the word of mouth get around, and then suddenly you have a girl from California, one from Texas, one from Miami that wants the same experience, and you're like, how do I make sure that whoever comes in New York and is reaching my small business is now getting at scale by crossing the border of the states? And so you really have to adapt yourself to technology, and you really have to adapt yourself to the customer needs and wants and the generation. And our girls, what I know is that they want the experience without the hassle of tradition. Like they don't want to get screwed by in such a beautiful moment of their life. They're willing to spend. Just give them the freedom to do so.
Amazing. Beautiful. Well, Manon, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Thank you for persevering with my highly mediocre French.
No, my God. Oh my God. Beautiful. Beautiful.
And, you know, I've really enjoyed this conversation, being great to learn about what seems like a fascinating business. And
thank you.
I'm really intrigued by the way you're kind of growing it and evolving it. And I think there's a tremendous amount that other founders can learn from you and the way that you're building this thing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us on Profits on Purpose.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
So before I let you go, where should people go if they'd like to learn a little bit more about you personally or the business that you're building here?
The business, you guys can follow us on lesaimants.com. This is where you can experience online and book a showroom appointment. Our social media at Les Hémons Bridal. And if you want to learn more about me, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I think this is how we connected essentially.
It was, yeah.
So just like at Manon Martin, you can just follow me through it. If you have questions, if you want to connect, like I'm always super excited to speak with e-commerce founders.
Okay.
Yeah.